I'm Bob Ruff, host of the Truth and Justice podcast. Each season on Truth and Justice, we reinvestigate a wrongful conviction cold case. Our investigations are shared on the show in real time, and you actually participate in the investigation. Season 3 has just begun, so this is the perfect time to get on board right from the beginning of a brand new case. Search for Truth and Justice on your favorite podcast directory and start listening and participating today. Start on episode 301, Murder on September, to join in on the investigation.
Feed me more.
Welcome to Conversation with the Big Guy. I am the big guy, and I'm sitting here with one Pat Buck.
Hey everybody, this is Pat Buck, one of your, I guess, from your co-host or your anchor, if you will.
Man of many
I wear a lot
qualities.
of hats. I wear a lot of hats. I got to start the timer here. I didn't do that. Should we start off with what you just said? I mean, it's natural flowing. I mean,
Yeah.
Then again, that we are recording before the facts, but this is kind of interesting.
It's not uncharted territory, but it kind of is too, a little in a way. But I legally went and I changed my name to Ryback for many reasons. One of which, it was one thing that I did not own, and I created and I used before my time with WWE, and it is something that is associated with my brand and who I am that I'm very proud of. So I went through the proper steps in Clark County in Las Vegas, and it cost a little bit of money, and I go in front of the judge September 1st. But when this airs, hopefully everything is approved, and I will be known as Ryback Allen Reeves moving forward.
I would say it's crazy, but in a weird way, like, I'm surprised because outside of Warrior, I don't know of any wrestler that's done this.
And I think that's the only other one. But and again, I feel like if my name was it was a different name, I might second guess it. Ryback to me is not really.
It's not that
it's
much
not
of a stretch.
So off the wall
No.
that my name is Ryan Ryback. It was from the Silverback and Ryan Ryback. So like it's different, yes, but it is it's not a common name, but it is a name. There are other people named Ryback out there. So
Is it really?
Yeah. So it's not.
I remember Casey Ryback from Under Siege.
A lot of people, a lot of questions that thought I came up with the Ryback character out of that, but which we'll talk about later.
Sure.
But and it's one of those things, and it's not me trying to get over on anybody or this and that. It's just essentially, I didn't go to WWE and say I own WWE. This is stuff that I had before, and that I want associated with my brand. And I'm still gonna be Ryan. It's just one of those things that I need that name, and I want that name to be associated with the big guy. And it was something that had to be done. So
it's also, it's just something that, I actually think that when people hear about this, there's going to be many to follow. I think people are going to go down this, and there's this is your identity. It's, you don't have to do this, but like at the same time, like I think it's brilliant because as a promoter, as someone that wants to put people in positions like, and I can say this,
I have a right to earn money too outside of time, and I created this, and many of the WWE talents create their brand and likeness, and they always tell us, you guys are responsible for your brand, and so I am solely just being responsible for my brand, and I don't think it's fair for guys to spend a good chunk of their time in one area, in one place, and then when they leave there, they're not allowed to have that brand and identity. And to me, that's just something that definitely needs to change, and more people need to speak up on that, and more people need to take control. I'm just doing what is right for me.
And I think also that it's a horrible. I think WWE has kind of done something great in respects to they pay more attention to independent wrestling, but at the same time, I'm an independent wrestling promoter. I can tell you actually, often many times I promote a particular talent, and maybe if I use a WWE image or say a WWE name, I'm hit with a cease and desist. I've been hit with probably, honestly, legitimate, probably 30 of them in the last like 4 or 5 years.
Many promotions out there, all the same story, yeah.
And it's like, I can't, and even sometimes when I say the wording's supposed to be former WWE superstar, insert name here.
Yeah.
But even that, I've had times where the cease and desist department's been so aggressive towards me or other places where there was one time I had Mick Foley on my poster, and it was a TNA image. And they try to, give me the same. It's a very threatening, scary email.
Yeah.
Nothing ever comes of it. And of course I comply, but at the same time, it's just like the overall mindset is unfortunate where these people, you devote your time, devote your life, you work for this company, and God forbid, it's hard to it's very hard to exist outside WWE or have these. We're basically, every independent wrestling is a mom and pop shop, and you're telling them they can't promote what the fans know you as.
There's a huge difference in being able to promote the big guy Ryback and Ryan Reeves, and it's because that is the brand that
yes
they associate with me, and it's not fair to talents to give them everything they got and to be the ones who created it and then to be left with nothing afterwards. And I'm just solely looking out for myself and what I'm trying to establish outside of the WWE.
I think it's fucking awesome. I know maybe at times here it may sound like a little Mark boy, but it's like, that's fucking ballsy.
No, it's not even ballsy. It's just
smart.
It's just me doing what needs to be done. And I told you, like I said from the beginning, there's no fear. There's no fear. And I've been through the worst of the worst, and I've overcome it, and I will continue to overcome things. And it's just something that, like I said, had to be done.
So, but the origins of that name originally, or we were getting back to the last episode we were talking about
Smokey Bones, right?
Yeah, we're just talking about, like I said, some things will be wrestling related, but we're not a podcast that's going to talk about. We're going to talk about what we want to talk about. We're actually literally.
I think it's going to range from everything from wrestling to steroids to massage parlors to nutrition to motivation. Legitimately, people, this is what
you want to hear.
Everyone has a fucking fear of, oh my God, I'm in this bubble. I can't talk about this. We are all human beings. We all experience the same fucking shit day in and day out, just on different levels. And like, I feel like that was one of the things with WWE is they can see through that shit.
Yes.
And they want to know the real person. And I have no shame of anything I've ever done or will do. And I know who I am as a human being and as a man. And I think you have to have that relationship with people, and they have to have that trust and understand who you are for you to fully thrive in today's environment.
And if they connect with that and they identify with that, and if that is shown in such a light, people relate more and they buy more stuff, and they care about you more, they're more invested. But that's just not the way it is, which is unfortunate.
I am a fucking robot from the future. My name is Ryback. I'm fucking hungry. Feed me more. Like, that only goes so far. They need to see deeper than that. And it's just, it blows my mind that we have not, the audience has evolved and with technology, with social media, and they could see through the bullshit.
Sure.
And that is what is very important for me. I want people to know the real me, and that's why we're here.
Yeah. And so we're talking about stuff. We like I said, at one point, we both were on pretty lows in the developmental system in OVW. I was trying to get a job. I was going to call you Ryan. Ryback was fired from his was terminated from his job, and we were both working at Smokey Bones, a barbecue joint. And much like the bar we worked at, there were times where we got pretty bored.
Yeah.
But the great thing, I think this instilled a work ethic in us because we were pretty young kids then, and we realized the harder and better we worked, the more money we made.
Yeah, that's what I got from that.
We also were kind of, like, there were times that we were bored, and we were also trying to keep ourselves in the best physical shape we can and keep our energy levels high.
Yeah. I do. Before you go, I think I know where you're going with this. I don't know if you remember this really early on. We got there and we're working 10, 12 hours a day, opening to close.
Yep.
And as you're going to talk about, we did some things to keep our energy levels high there and whatnot, and all legal, nothing crazy like that. But I remember distinctly, like we would see the people that had been there. It's kind of like I remember like going to the WWE when all the NXT when we first got up there. Like they had the roster up there of guys that had been around each other for a while. Smokey Bones had their roster essentially of all these people that had been together for quite a while. And I remember we would always hear them talking about hanging out at night.
Yes.
The stories and like we got so fucked up last night and this and we would go, what losers they all had like we just couldn't fathom it. And then eventually, as you're going to find out,
we were those.
You're going to see the big guy singing fucking the Titanic theme, fucking drunk and down and out later on, in which you have a picture still, I believe. I remember.
I still have it on my phone somewhere.
But we were clearly hanging out with them each and every night, just like
they were good people.
They were awesome people.
Yeah.
But it was just funny how we went in there and like
we're too cool for school.
We just I think it's too as part of it. Wrestlers hang out with wrestlers.
Yeah.
And to us, it was like, oh, we're still wrestlers, but
we're not civilians. Like this. I call them civilians.
I was a full blown civilian by the end of that.
So there'd be many long nonetheless, we worked hard and we'd work double shifts,
Absolutely.
partly because of a scam I'm going to introduce in a minute. But we found that we're both big coffee guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we even had a couple before we started drinking wine and beer. Right now, I love coffee. I love black coffee, espressos.
Yeah, I'll drink decaf because I got my pre-workout and everything now. But like today, I've had several coffees today, just coming in and on 4 hours sleep, so need to have a little energy for this. So
big coffee guys, and we also found that we would a lot of times at work, we could we were allowed to drink whatever we wanted to drink as far as like if you want to.
They have their limits on food, or they were supposed to, as you'll find out. But
which is okay. We'll get right into that after. So. With the coffee, which were, when you work at a restaurant, you have these big industrial coffee things, a giant bag of coffee that you put into the maker, you close the lid, you press the button. I don't even remember if we fill it with water. We might.
Yeah, you fill it, you put it with water, and typically you put the one coffee bag in there, and you brew your pot of coffee.
But that was, and we realized, this is pretty normal coffee, gets a good buzz. What if we put 2 bags in there?
I've always been about more.
And then we're like, let's put fucking 3 bags in. So pretty much we get triple caffeinated, like strong coffee, and you and I would just drink it.
And our sole purpose of this was just for us we just loved the energy.
We just want the buzz.
And like again, I'm there morning to night. You're there morning. Sometimes you had to go wrestle after and whatnot. I was working full time, not wrestling for quite a while there. Leaving on my lunch break to go work out, having more caffeine, and like drinking a speed stack or something at the time. And
we were just dripping in sweat.
Yeah,
fucking serving,
walking
tables.
heart attacks.
But most people at the barbecue joint, they wouldn't offer. We get away with it too because we didn't serve breakfast. We only opened at 11 a.m. So most people did not order coffee. However, we started getting a little scared because the old ladies would come in for lunchtime, and they'd want their cup of coffee.
That was always the coffee crowd, was at lunchtime.
Yep. And when
Can I get some pulled pork brisket and a large coffee?
And we get them coffee, and we'd see these old ladies go, "Oh, that's strong coffee," and like we were concerned, like, "Fuck, they're gonna keel over."
That was never we never thought about that because it was just we would make this coffee and nobody was drinking it. And then we started like, I think you like, I just gave this old lady a triple strength coffee, and I was like, oh, and then it like didn't really think about this part of it. Like we're serving this stuff, and it was like, I don't think it stopped us. I think we might have went down to 2 bags after to try to like, oh well, 2 is gonna be fine. But
so that was the coffee stuff. There was great food there, and they were very good to us with eating. But then
I kept that place is like I said, I got the job there because I eat so much food, and they would usually give it to us for half off, I think.
Yep.
But like there was also times where we can get free meals from time to time. I remember the managers would give us free. Sometimes they'd get 50 wings or 100 wings for everyone, like and things like that. And but the cooks would mess up sometimes too, and you could eat that stuff and put it in the back. But
I'm not talking about this one.
Yeah.
Basically, I had a rule where sometimes, and I didn't know that much about. I actually learned how to eat mostly from you and from Conway. I didn't
Rob
know
Conway,
Rob Conway's.
always had a tremendous physique.
Yeah. But I didn't know a lot about. So sometimes when you're throwing out food, there'd be some delicious chicken fingers on your plate. Like basically, like if you pick up from a table, they didn't eat everything, and you're like, oh shit! Like
I always hated because I've always been big on diet and chicken fingers, like the breaded buffalo fingers, are so fucking bad for you.
I know
because it's fat, it's carbs. Which kids, you should not mix your carbs and your fats. And it's great protein in them, but I love buffalo fingers. I love chicken wings, and usually I like to have them naked, and I don't eat any carbs with it. But those chicken fingers, I would be furious because it hurts to throw food like that away. With starving people out there and children and the big guy and Pat Buck. It was fuck.
There was a lot of delicious food that we'd throw out, but my rule was. And again, I didn't care that much. I didn't really know a whole lot about dieting till years later that much. You did, but like. If I saw, my rule was if it was a whole food, like a whole chicken finger or a whole...
They would turn something if it was the wrong item or something and it'd go out there or they cut into it.
But if it was like a whole onion ring or maybe like every now and then a whole, the blazing shrimp.
Yeah. Oh, I would eat out of this world.
I would bring it back and I was supposed to throw it out and I would fucking sit there in front of the dishes and I would eat it.
Those dishwashers laughed at us, by the way.
Yeah.
I remember stuffing my face of different things. And I used to put food in my pockets, the serving apron, and I would have like dried buffalo sauce in it because I would, if we were busy, I was like, I can't throw this away. Where am I going to fucking put it? And I would put it in my apron on the other side.
Oh my God.
I was literally, I'm like a giant fat kid at heart. And it,
but I remember you also had a rule. I was like, whoa, you just one up me. Where like say someone took a bite of a burger.
Yeah.
I've caught you many a times back there.
I'll eat the opposite end.
Ripping the part that was bitten off and eating the burger. I was like, oh, you did it. You one up me.
At that time, and money was tight, and it was like, that would get me through. If that would save me $20, $30 a day of eating, by sometimes, that people would eat a quarter of a steak, and I would just cut off. I would usually, I believe it was 1 inch. That was your rule? That was the enemy lines. Like once where that bitten, I would go an inch past it, and there might have been a half inch here and there, just barely.
And it was easy to get that because the dishes were right there. There's a steak knife that was clean.
Probably wasn't even washed either. But I just remember them always just looking at me and laughing. And that was actually, I told you, where Feed Me More is one of them. They just started calling me Feed Me More because I was always fucking eating. And I looked at them one day and I don't remember who. And I just said, I'm going to use that someday because that is me. And
Well, I think it might have been, if you remember Magellan, who was I don't know if he's from Trinidad, I don't know if he's from Africa. Forgive me for not knowing that.
One of the cooks at Smokey Bones,
yes.
But he was like an old war veteran. He had all the scars of the burns.
In his arm. Kind of an intimidating man, and dare I say, he didn't really talk to us a whole lot. So he kind of had an air. We couldn't tell if he hated us or not.
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't know if you want to tell this story, but one time in particular,
I was when I was at Smokey Bones. I was drinking heavily, like I said, the bottle of Burnett's every night, and this and that.
Never drunk at work though, right?
Oh,
were you?
No, for the longest time I wasn't,
okay.
And then it started getting. I've always been pretty good at like
hiding
and everything. I've always like addiction wise, like nicotine. When I've been able to just stop cold turkey, and the alcohol was no different. I knew every day I was choosing to do that, but I was going through some stuff, and that was what I decided to do, and I took control of it eventually. But at that point, it started taking over a little bit. And I remember I would usually work morning to night, and I would leave there and I would go to my apartment, and and on my lunch break, I would usually work out and get a good workout in still. Mm-hmm. And I'd run home and shower, and I would grab the vodka and a huge 64-ounce cup, which actually goes back. This is kind of for OVW, also played a huge part in part of the Ryback character. But I would start drinking at home. I'd make one drink at home and start sipping on it.
Okay.
Because I never wanted to be drunk and drive, but I would have a little at home and get it in my system. And then I would leave and I'd bring it to work. I remember seeing Wade Barrett at the time, actually, at that Creekside Apartments. And funny story about me and Wade is he thought I was like the biggest asshole ever. I was just so miserable and negative, and he was like a new hire, and he was coming in
fresh-faced,
and we didn't have computers, and we'd both have to use the computer in the office there. And
oh man,
he was like, "Hey, how you doing? Good. How are you? Good." And like that was it. And it wasn't until years later in FCW when we kind of were getting changed in the same area, and and he realized I was nothing like what I was just in a really low point in my life, and we became great friends. But I'd get to the Smokey Bones parking lot, and then I would I'd have my diet soda in the cup already. I'd pour the vodka in that 64-ounce cup, and a lot.
Okay.
And I would proceed to just sit out in my car and drink it before my shift, the night shift. And then I would come in usually with a really nice buzz. And for a while that lasted, where I was able to keep going. And then there were points where obviously the more you drink, your tolerance kind of goes up. Where I had to start going out to my car to, like, I'd pour like Diet Coke in one of the to-go cups.
Okay.
And I'd go out to my car and then
Mix another one?
Yeah.
Really?
To keep the buzz going at work. And this lasted for quite a while. Then eventually I got, something happened where like I was out of vodka, and this was probably the lowest point. And I never showed it. Like I've always been able to work and just, and no matter what, like I was surviving day in, day out. My job, how I performed at that job determined how much money I had, essentially, and to get by day in and day out and pay my bills. And there came a point though where I wanted the buzz to stay, and it was starting to wear off, and I had no more alcohol. So, at restaurants, you have the beer coolers in the back. At Smoky Bones, we had all the kegs. Usually I was the guy that had to go get the kegs and hook the new kegs up and stuff. And so like it wasn't an odd thing for me to be going to the beer cooler.
Sure, we always went there. Yeah.
And so Magellan, this cook, had noticed one particular time that I was going back there quite a bit during a shift. And what I was doing was I was going back there and I was cracking open a beer between tables and chugging the beer, putting it in my pocket and throwing it away. And so Magellan kind of got a little suspicious, and I'll never forget this. And to this day, if Magellan, if you're by some chance listening to this, the big guy says he's sorry. And we were friends after this, but we didn't really talk at that time, weren't social at all. And he walked in on me chugging a beer. And obviously, if you're caught doing something like that, you're done. You're done. You're fired. And at that point in time, if I would have been fired, I would have been in a lot of trouble. I probably would have had to have moved home.
Sure.
I had very little money, and I'm going day to day. So he walks in, and without hesitation, I just said, "If you say a word, I'm going to fucking kill you." And I just stared a hole through him, and I pointed a gun at him and fucking did the fucking, like, and I don't even know what, like, it wasn't me. I don't know, but instinct took over, and I knew if I don't put scare this man with everything I got right here, he's going to go say something.
Sure.
And he backed out. He left. He went back to the cooking line.
Never said a word.
Finished my beer, and he never said a word. And Magellan, thank you, because obviously, and I don't condone that sort of behavior, and we all go through our ups and downs, and this was me going through my downs. So
God bless Magellan, kept us alive to make a considerable amount of money after that. With the next part of that,
we talk about this. We lived together. We'd go home. We'd watch wrestling, and we'd drink together sometimes.
Yeah.
And brainstorm on different ideas, and then sometimes you get bored, but like money at that place, it would sometimes be hard to get by. Like lunch shifts can be really slow.
You would leave with $16 sometimes.
Yeah, you could sometimes you bust your ass, and not that everybody's going to tip you great. And I've always tried to be considerate and always tip now after being a server and know what servers go through.
People are listening. You need to tip 20%, even if it's bad service.
At least
have to tip 20%
because they don't make their money any other way. And that's part. And I feel like when you go out to eat, that's what you're going out to eat for. You're paying for the service, and there are a lot of great servers out there, and you got to take care of your servers because we didn't make a salary, and it was like
you make $3 an hour, and people don't understand that. Like if you don't have the money to tip, then don't go out and eat. Like my biggest pet peeve is seeing guys that don't tip, and some of them may not know any better. But I tip everybody. The guy that pumps in Jersey, you can't pump your own gas. You got to tip. You just have to.
To this day, no matter even if it's just me by myself, I try to leave $10 for it, and that's just because I know and it's over 20%, but I have a soft spot in my heart for servers, and because I know what we went through and how hard that is, and we were given extra tape because let's be honest, that was just a small part of our lives.
Yes,
and that was never the end game. But for a lot of people, that's kind of the only thing they do, and not everyone shows up to. And I think we took that wrestling mindset of to show up every day and to do our best. And I know I always did. And I took pride in trying to create a good experience for people. And I just have too much pride, like to ever do anything half-ass.
Yeah.
And that job was and it always, I talk about it in my book with Jimmy, the manager, Jimmy Bryant at the time, who was a huge fucking mark. He told me to say, he goes, "You were the best server I ever had." And that to me was like, that means a lot to me, even though because it was like, I'm able to apply myself. It's something I know that I'm not going to probably be doing for the rest of my life. But.
Sure. Maybe I should leave the scam part out of it then.
No, I think it's because I think it's such an important part of and it's who we were at the time, and not who we were, but it was getting by, it was surviving, and
found a loophole, if you will.
And I will say this was all your idea,
it was.
But I did agree to do it with you wholeheartedly.
So Smokey Bones at the time, I noticed, was part of Darden.
This is all for entertainment purposes, correct?
This is real. You can't press
all
charges.
Entertainment purposes.
I think the statute of limitations has expired, so it's been past 7 years, I believe. Holy shit. 7. Okay, yeah, it's been more than 7 years. Thank God. 8 years would have been fucked. That was 8 years ago. So every now and then I'd notice there'd be a promotion for Smokey Bones, being that there'd be coupons in the old newspaper and circular. Basically you could come in, and some of them would be like free donuts, which were like $5. But there was
started off very harmless. I remember you a couple of times like, "Oh, we can make a few extra."
Yeah, and then Smokey Bones getting really aggressive with the old coupon business, and they were basically saying you could buy one get one free of your entree, which everyone's favorite entree there was baby back ribs, a full slab of babies, and they cost $21. So what I started noticing is I went, what if someone does get ribs, and everyone got ribs a lot of times, or they got like a barbecue platter and they paid in cash but they didn't have a coupon? What if I had that coupon?
Yep.
I could potentially, instead of making $8 off a table, I could make 25. Or if I made $3 off a table, I could make 12.
Yeah.
And I went, holy shit, I'm onto something. But the thing is, well, how do you get these coupons? And I would one I'd find on eBay, any sort of coupon, I'd buy them all up.
I remember you being on eBay quite a few times with that.
I would also then got pretty ridiculous where I would find out what date they were releasing the coupon from either calling the restaurant, calling the headquarters, and I would go to supermarkets maybe about 6 in the morning, and I would literally wait for the newspaper truck to pull up, and I would, like a bandit, pull all the coupons out of every single paper.
Yeah. I remember because I was back at OVW as Ryback at the time, the Terminator Ryback. Yes. I remember we would drive for shows, and sometimes, because there were other Smokey Bones, because I couldn't get I remember Fuji Cakes had to do my contact for a while because I don't wear contacts or anything like that. But for Ryback at the time, I wore a red contact.
Well, I remember in contacts, I was very quick in, quick out, and I kind of blend in. I mean, I'm not that much of like I said, I'm 200 pounds, I'm 5'10", so I go in and out, I'm done. I remember leaving, and I'm like, yo, the coupons come out tomorrow. You're like, let's go. And you're in full gimmick.
Full gimmick, like Ryback shirt, the Ryback jeans at the time that I wrestled in.
A red contact in your eye.
Yeah.
And I go in, that gas station definitely has at least 12 coupons, and we send you...
A 280-pound guy walking in with a red eye, with the vision of red, walking in with a full set of hair, and just... I look back at it and I go, I remember being so paranoid. Like, 'cause I remember people were looking at me. Well, no shit, they're looking at you. You're wearing you have a red fucking eye.
I remember a cop stopped you and was like, what if I want that? What if I need those coupons? And I don't know if you left. I don't know what happened next.
I remember we thought he was going to call the restaurant, and he had no idea we worked, and like he just thought we loved our baby back ribs. Which we did, but when people ordered them.
So, but basically...
By the way, other people there were doing it too.
I mean, is it the right thing to do? Not really, but it got us by. I did learn in the accounting process that all coupons done by restaurants already accounted for their losses, so I really didn't feel bad.
Yeah.
And, servers would be like, oh...
It wasn't abused to the point... And I remember we kind of had rules with it still, because honestly, we could have done it a lot.
Yeah.
And it was like, sometimes it would just be to make your quota for the day, or to like... this is for my vodka tonight. Like,
it wasn't like, hey, because you had to physically show your coupons at the end. Like, you couldn't be like, hey, I had 30 coupons tonight. You'd be like, they would know the deal. But, if you had like,
but a weekend night too, there were a lot of coupons. You could get away with a few more on those nights.
And I remember, this is like kind of really aggressive.
I almost got caught. I remember a few times with going into the next story eventually. But go ahead.
I just remember like. Doing cash was easy. People paid cash, they left. You never saw them again. Coupon, boom. We had a nice fat tip. But then I said, could I do this with credit cards? and I came up with. I can't even remember the system, but I had it in a way where the person still paid the exact same amount of money that they equated for their bill that appeared on their credit card, but I could deduct the coupon. So somehow I figured out a way to get us the same amount.
I think it was you printed out the receipt with the other one with the original total, so they would see the original, and then you would cancel it out and run it for the new one later. And then I believe that's when you...
And I would do the math difference to somehow have it equal what they planned on paying.
Yeah.
And then but then they would still have, the manager would still have to approve it. And that was too much.
Yeah.
That was way too greedy and stupid.
Because there was a new manager that came in at that time too, JK. I think he was your number one guy, wasn't he?
He might have liked me. Yeah, he was a big fan of me. He wasn't a fan of you.
No, he did not like me. I think because he hit on me. And JK, for everyone out there, is gay and cool, great, whatever. But he would sometimes, I feel, be a little unprofessional and make comments and whatnot. And I wasn't a fan of his. And he just didn't take a liking to me because I didn't put up with his bullshit, which I never do with anyone. So, but I remember he was always trying to just ruin the fun in there.
Sure.
And this was actually towards the end in there. I'd finally been rehired by WWE.
Yeah, you were. That's right.
And I had several more weeks to go, I think, until I had to move back to Tampa.
But you weren't getting paid yet, though, right?
No, I wasn't getting paid yet. So I was staying on, and the pay, I forgot all about that. Like, 'cause usually they send you your moving money and everything, because all stuff most people don't have money for right off the bat, and at that point in time. And JK, there was something earlier that day. We had one of those meetings where you had to show up early to work on, and we're all just, nobody wants to be there, and it's just a restaurant, and it's stuff that could have been done when you got there.
And they made us draw like cartoons or something. Like,
grown adults, everyone working there.
Yeah.
And this restaurant with these managers wanted us to draw some sort of whatever, celebrating the new menu or the whatever the fuck it was that was so meaningless. And I remember I was like, they're not gonna, like, one, if they look at these, they're pathetic.
Yeah.
So I think, like, they're just trying to find a way for everyone to fill time, and they got to do this meeting or whatever. So and JK and I'd had my issues with him, so I drew a picture of Ryback, Terminator Ryback, pissing on JK's grave with a huge dick, in very detailed drawing.
And we all had a hoot. We all laughed.
Everyone laughed. But so this drawing, everything got put away and got put in the office, in the manager's office. And there were two managers there at the time, maybe three. And so later that night, it was like a Saturday night. It was a really busy night. And I had like 4 or 5 tables going. And I remember I made a Tootsie Roll penis, of which I was saying was a judge's hammer to make decisions around the restaurant, but it was a Tootsie Roll penis, and everyone, for whatever reason, it was funny, and I don't know what we were doing with it. It was like, but it was making its way around the restaurant and ending up in different servers, and it was like a game that was going on with it. Well, eventually, JK, no kidding, got a hold of the chocolate penis, and he was furious. And you got to, anyone who's ever served knows when it's busy that like you got to be very attentive with your tables.
Yeah. So
it was very selfish of him, even at that point, to call a meeting with everyone had their tables. So he calls a meeting in the back because he wants to get to the bottom of this quote unquote Tootsie Roll penis. Finally, I get back there and I already know that, like, he's like, he goes on, guys, what's this, blah, blah, blah. And I just raise my hand. I go, I made it. And he goes, made a comment like, why did you make a penis? And I go, that's not a penis. I go, penises aren't that small. That's a judge's hammer. I go, somebody has to make the fucking decisions in this restaurant since you can't. And which his face got really, really red. Everybody laughed at him. And
so fired.
he stormed off into the office with Jimmy, who was a huge supporter, huge wrestling fan. Jimmy loved us, and to this day, we still, occasionally text him. And he's no longer there either. He's probably pulled up somewhere with a shotgun. And no, but Jimmy was always a supporter and was very flexible with us. So, I'm doing my tables and I get called into the office, and Jimmy goes, what's going on? And I go, he's just an asshole. I go, he's not professional. He doesn't know how to conduct himself. I go, we are all doing our jobs, that we're having fun at work. And I said, that thing was nowhere near, we're not doing this anywhere near the tables and whatnot. And so he goes, okay. And JK went earlier, I guess, found the picture that I drew earlier. And
that's it. Yeah, I didn't.
That was kind of the final, straw. And Jimmy goes, well, what's this drawing? And I go, you got me on that. I drew that earlier. It's me pissing on JK's dead grave. In which he laughed hysterically because he saw the humor in it.
Sure.
But he goes, he's threatening to call corporate, and he goes, my job will then be on the line if I don't.
That was a thing.
Yeah.
Fuck, okay.
So he goes, I'm not firing you. I can't fire you. He goes, I just need you to just give your notice right now.
Yeah.
And I go, he goes, here's the thing that you're giving your notice. He goes, you're not fired. And I remember, I got all these tables. He goes, I know, we get all right. And luckily, I think I started getting paid the next week or whatever and whatnot. And it was just, I've always loved to have fun, and you were screwing around, but I always looked at it. I gave that job everything I had into the tables, and anyone who ever had me as a server, I always took a lot of pride in that and loved it. But that was the end of my Smokey Bones days.
Man, that's Smokey Bones in a nutshell. And shortly after, I think I stayed a little bit while longer and took some more money, and I followed you down to Tampa.
Do you remember, speaking on this real quick, we joked about how everyone hung out together.
Yeah.
We became part of that crew for quite a while, hanging out with everyone and drinking. And I remember I was at just really depressed and sad, and they were playing, it wasn't Guitar Hero, but it was a karaoke video game.
Something like that. Yeah.
And I could have picked any song, and any song, but for what I was just so heartbroken at the time, and I loved this girl so much, and I was so attached to her, and and I wanted her back, but we'd broken up, and it was over with, and it was done, and it was the Titanic love song. What was it?
My Heart Will Go On.
Yeah, My Heart Will Go On, which is still on my MP3 player, actually.
That's funny.
No, my phone, I should say, my iPhone. But I remember you took a picture of it, me with a full head of hair,
full widow's peak,
with
hair,
polo type dress shirt, jeans, and probably basketball shoes.
And I was like, this is life right now. We're just servers. And
if you can give me that photo, I'd like to post that on social media once this airs.
I think that might. I definitely have it.
I found my old phones, by the way, and I was going through old pictures. It was cool. I found my old dog Roxy.
Okay.
Who I'll talk about. I was on the road. I got home, and this is my first year back in WWE in 2012, and she ended up selling a tumor, it ruptured in her stomach, and I got to see her last night and take her to the hospital the day. Thank God. That would have killed me if I wasn't home for that, which I love being home now and being around my dogs, Sophie and Sunny and Secret and Shira, and it means the world to me to be able to see them on a daily basis. But I just remember that point being, wow, that was just the ice moving.
Yeah, right. Fuck.
So. But it was a great time, and we learned from it.
So that was that was Louisville, and that was shortly after you were down at FCW. I still stayed around for a while longer.
Connection stayed. We lived together again down there, and
then
a lot of stuff happened down there.
Yeah, that was me trying to get a job as a ref, and you trying to make a cowboy gimmick work.
Yep.
Hell of a time period. Fuck.
I made quite the transformation from Ryback to Skip Sheffield on that, and. Thank you to the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. He was brilliant, and it got me called up, so I'll forever be thankful for it.
Yeah, it's true. We're at 36 minutes. We went through that. I don't think we should start a new subject. We'll get dragged away. It's a little shorter episode. You can promote stuff. You can check. You can follow me on Twitter. Buck Never Stops. Check out feedmemore.com, WrestleProOnline.com, or CreativeProWrestling.com. I got to plug a lot of stuff.
You got at Ryback22, the big guy Ryback. 22 on Instagram, and Ryback 247 on Snapchat, which if you want to get a laugh, stop on by. But thank you guys for listening. You just listened to an episode of Conversation with the Big Guy. Thank you.
I'm Bob Ruff, host of the Truth and Justice podcast. Each season on Truth and Justice, we reinvestigate a wrongful conviction cold case. Our investigations are shared on the show in real time, and you actually participate in the investigation. Season 3 has just begun, so this is the perfect time to get on board right from the beginning of a brand new case. Search for Truth and Justice on your favorite podcast directory and start listening and participating today. Start on episode 301, Murder on September, to join in on the investigation.